Everyone, welcome back to the Poet Speaks podcast, the #1 spoken word podcast in the world. There we go. All right, so today we have a very, very special guest. Our next guest is a Black writer, poet, and speaker from New York, living in the Dominican Republic. Her poetry explores many subjects, including her Caribbean roots, Black feminism, self-love. Her most viral poem, Afro Latina, was featured by Instagram on their IGTV for National Poetry Month and has garnered over 9 million views. Okay. When she's not writing or performing, you can find her resting in her hammock or meditating as a self-professed nap queen. She's also working on her debut collection of poetry, Plantains and Our Becoming. Please welcome to the podcast, Melania, Luisa, Marte. Hello, Melania. How are you?
Hola. Hi, everyone. I'm great. The sun finally came out. It's been raining here for like 3 days, which has been cold and rainy. Yeah. That's our version of winter. But finally the sun is out and I'm happy about it. I'm gonna go get some sun later and do some more writing. I'm on a deadline, so you got to catch me while you can.
Yeah, those writing deadlines really be some vicious. So tell us, you're out. So right now, everyone listening, Melania, she's out of DR, Dominican Republic right now, correct?
CCC, yep. I'm out here in the islands, getting my whole life. Yes, eating mangoes.
So she's living island life right now. Like, I'm curious though, for you, you're originally, where are your roots from? You are from DR or?
So my parents were both born on the island. My dad was born in Santo Domingo and my mom was born here in Bonao. And so when I don't have a connection to the States, this is my other connection. This is all I've known. But when I was a kid, my mom would send us every summer to visit my grandma who still lives here. And she has a visa to fly, but she doesn't like New York. Yeah. And my mom now lives in Texas and she's just very like, I like my little campito. So she's at the age where even though she can travel because she has a visa, she would rather stay here. And also with COVID, that's really scared her. So she hasn't been flying. So everyone just always comes visit her. And so when I was a kid, we would visit her every summer. And that's really where my connection to the island started, where I became obsessed with. I was like, one day when I'm grown, I'm going to just live the island's life for real, Yeah. And then coming here and, my partner lives here and we live together in this home and we have two little ones. And it's been so interesting, that transition from like, what the experience would be like in the States, and then also experiencing, because I've experienced most of the pandemic here on the island. Oh, wow. Which has been, wow. I think personally, it's been kind of less traumatic because the weather, the heat helps. The heat helps the spread of infection. And so there has been lots of, although there has been like the spread of COVID, it's been less of a burden on people and less traumatic for people because the weather has been helping people, stay healthier. And so, so I've been experiencing lots of things during these pandemic years, motherhood, lots of having to not center and decolonize from my Western comforts, I'll call them, because I think they're comforts. I think there's ideologies that, are very first world problems, and so I've had to kind of just reel it in and be like, okay, what matters most in the moment? Because sometimes when you're obsessed with like the little things, like not having hot water, you miss out on the bigger things, you know? Yeah. And so I've had to really ground myself in like picking and choosing my battles, with island life, with living, in a country that still is, developing itself, and, but it's been a beautiful journey and it's inspired so much of my art and it's given me so much grounding, to really cement myself in my core values and use that to tell the stories that matter most to me and that I feel can really help create a better world personally.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Yeah, I think this pandemic has been so rough. I mean, like it's been rough on everybody. I don't care who you are, where you're from. It's been such a rough period. We're definitely trying to center yourself. It's been difficult for a lot of people to truly like sit back and really even do those basic things, because in some cases, yeah, the hot water is not working. That's becoming such a problem. You know what I mean? Even the small things have become such bigger problems for people that are maybe disenfranchised. But I'm curious, you talked about how this has had such an effect on your writing. For you, DR, what can you tell folks about DR in terms of the spoken word poetry scene? What is it like out there? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it feel like for spoken word poets out there?
There is there's not really a scene, a spoken word poetry scene. I feel like in New York, there's a poetry scene. In Dallas,
Yeah.
shouts out to, um, Dallas Poetry Slam, like there's a poetry scene, right? But here we don't have an organization that's putting on for poetry specifically. In Santo Domingo, there is more of a poetry scene, which is the city part. And it's obviously, in the city, shit just gets more popping, But here
Yeah.
in Bonao, we don't have a poetry scene. And so, I mean, I've only done 2 events here, and it's with an organization called Aquelarre,
Mm.
and they're really dope, and they're working on a poetry scene. They're working on developing the arts and creating an art scene that is very centers Black queer voices.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I'm excited for what is coming, but we're still working on it. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. I'm curious though for you, because you talked a lot about, your grandmother, your family being from DR. Obviously, that plays such a significant role in your writing. When was it that you discovered poetry, spoken word that was for you? When did that point occur for you? Was it obviously it wasn't necessarily in DR when you moved there, because you had already been an established poet by the time you came
Mhm.
through. So it was back in the States.
Yeah. So I mean, I went to Tompkins Square Middle School. That was right across the street from the New Eureka Poets Cafe. So I've
Oh,
always had an
wow.
understanding.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so
Yeah.
insane. It's insane. Um I didn't know that there was like poetry could be a career, you know what I mean? I thought it
Mhm.
was just like a hobby, like things people did. And it wasn't until I moved to Dallas, where I started attending open mics at Dallas Poetry Slam. And then I made their Dallas Poetry Slam team, that I was able to get on a team, compete, learn what the slam world was, and then, start to tour with my slam poems, that I was able to really see, oh, this is like a real thing. Like you can make a career out of poetry. But it is very, even as a slam poet, like usually slam poets end up having like another job, because like as
Facts.
a slam poet with like competitions and things like that, and like open mics, you're not getting paid like a substantial amount of money,
Yeah.
and I wish there was more funding towards slam poetry, but the reality is that like these artists are usually like, if they're not touring 24/7 to like make ends meet,
Yeah.
then, or if they don't have a book deal, like I was able to like get a book deal, and it's a good amount of money to be able to
Nice.
survive off of,
Nice.
but if you don't
Hard.
have that, yeah, if you don't have like you're touring 24/7, like all year round,
Yeah.
and you're going to college universities that are paying you a nice check to go to their universities and perform, then you usually have another job to sustain yourself. And for me, it was like I had to come to a point where I was like, okay, if I really want to have my poetry pop, it's got to be now. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
let me put myself in the situation, in like the right places, and let me
Word.
also figure out how to do this like full time. And so that's what I did. I just hustled. But I also was very intentional with like my branding, with making sure people understood what kind of poetry I was doing versus what everybody else was doing. Because I was like, I'm only doing what I feel is going to work, because I want to tell those kinds of stories. I made very, like from jump, I made sure that I was very cemented in my journey, not trying to copy anyone else's poetry, not trying to write about what everybody else was writing about, making sure that those were the stories I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And that's where the poem Afro Latina came from. Afro Latina was really a rant I wrote, because I was like, wait, Y'all don't have this word in the dictionary.
Yeah, yeah,
Every month, Latinx Heritage Month comes around, and y'all don't want to have these conversations about why you're not centering enough Black people, or why these, it's only once a month that you want to even talk about it. And if you do want to talk about it, you have like one Black person on a panel, and then everybody else looking like they white all year round. So it
yeah,
was like that for me. It was like, let me write this poem to really let people know how I feel about erasure and about the way y'all are always anti-Black in every type of culture.
yeah. I mean,
Every type of culture got anti-Blackness in it.
yeah, absolutely.
¿Por
No,
qué? Right? So I had
yeah,
questions. So I wrote that poem, and it went viral, and it definitely helped my career. But I wrote something that I knew I wanted people to really get it in their thickened heads. Like I really was like,
facts, yeah,
let's get that in that skull, because y'all are
yeah,
really missing the point about when people say Black Lives Matter, it's like Black Lives Matter globally.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
it's not getting through here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and it's just like, why is it that every culture has the language for anti-Blackness, but
Yeah,
none of the language for social justice, none of the language for equality and equity and revolutionary love? Like y'all don't have none of the language, but when it comes to anti-Blackness, everybody knows what that's about in every language.
mm, mm,
Because because I'm
mm.
living it here. There is a heaviness in anti-Blackness here. There's a heaviness of wanting to like, really hold on to colonization. Like these colonial identities are really got their foot on people's necks here. And so something that I've been discussing a lot. And my next poem is actually, definitely gonna dive into that. Is this idea that like, where can we escape anti-Blackness? Because even in our Black countries, we're experiencing it.
Yeah,
Like there was a woman in Santo Domingo here on the island who like literally it was on her birthday. Her husband
mm.
made a reservation for a party on her birthday, and she wasn't let into the restaurant because she had braids in.
Wow. Here in DR, where you are.
Here in DR in Santo Domingo,
Yeah,
at a fancy restaurant, just because apparently the braids don't make the cut.
yeah,
So it's like these respectability politics, there's anti-Blackness, there's colorism, there's featureism. It's like a whole thing. And it's just like,
yeah,
and this is a country where 90% of the people look like me.
yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
say, it's just like, it's crazy to me because it's just like, you think you leave the States because you think you want to let go of some of those things that got their foot on your neck. And
Yeah,
then you come here and then you're like, oh, you mean I still got to deal with the same shit? Just a little bit different by my own
yeah.
people now? I mean, I will say that I was definitely able to heal from a lot of things, like
Mm-hmm.
in Texas, the anxiety, the PTSD of getting pulled over by a white cop and he's already got his hand on his gun. And it's just like, what did I do, sir? Oh, I'm just checking. Can I see your license or registration? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, what did I do?
Yeah,
What did I do, sir? And it's just
yeah,
like, oh, I'm leaving a poetry show and it's 11 o'clock at night. And, I'm driving into the suburbs, and all of a sudden, they see what they see in
yeah.
their minds, and
Mhm.
they want to pull you over. And you just like, I'm not even drinking. I'm sober. I'm not doing nothing crazy. I'm just trying to make it home, sir. I'm not doing
Absolutely.
nothing wild,
Yeah,
and like those kind of triggering things. I had like severe anxiety, and I was suffering from PTSD, and I was just like feeling very unsafe in my own body. And I was like, this is not for me.
yeah.
I need to live someplace where everybody looks like me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I need to live someplace where if a cop is coming to me, it's to help, to
mm,
actually help, not because I'm considered a predator. I'm considered, somebody that's doing always something wrong without even doing something wrong, And that was my biggest thing. Was I was like, I want to live someplace where community actually feels like community.
mm-hmm.
And I was able to gain that. I was able to like let go of that trauma of like, yo, these white people really do not care for my existence, and I don't even know what that's like. Like, I can't even like fathom living through 3 pandemic years in a community
Yeah,
where you are constantly being surveilled by white folks
yeah.
in some
It's
capacity.
yeah. It's definitely it's a rough thing. I mean, you touched on so much there. kind of just talking about so much about what kind of this time period means for you, what being in the DR really means for you. Kind of going back, you mentioned, Afro Latina, that's the name of your poem that went just skyrocketed into viral fame and everything like that. And it's so obvious, Afro Latina, that's such a heavy part of who you are. And not only that, but your work, the artwork that you produce to the world, that's a part of, your art. So kind of go back to that poem when that came out, and like you said, that was kind of your way to kind of just get things off your chest, just go ahead and vent and rant. For you, when that poem came out, what attention did you think that brought to your work, both good and bad? Because like you had mentioned while you were talking previously, is definitely almost like this tokenization we get as Black people. And I'm sure as an Afro Latina, there's that tokenization that you get. It's like, oh, we got the Afro Latina coming through with the poetry. Oh, she's gonna cover that section of things, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
When you made that poem, and please tell us what year did you make that poem, and then tell us what attention did that bring to you, both good and bad?
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was like 2018 or 19. No, I don't remember, honestly. The poem, it's been a minute since I wrote that poem. I think it was 2019, to be honest. But so at the time I wrote it because I wanted to have a poem to back this petition, because I wanted to get Afro-Latina in the dictionary.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, let's do this. And then I realized, I was like, no, fuck that. We don't need Afro-Latina in the dictionary. And honestly, we don't need any of this in the dictionary. What we need is for folks to understand that we need to stop waiting for white folks to give us our flowers. That's what I stopped doing. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I was like, let me just go write the stuff I need to write. Sorry, I'm cursing a lot. Let me go write the stuff I need to write.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I started writing. Literally, I was on a flight. Plantains and Our Becoming has been like 2 to 3 years in the making, honestly.
Wow.
It's just now that I was able to get a book deal, to get a big publisher to be like, oh, we need this out here. But Plantains and Our Becoming is not even about Afro-Latinidad. I mean, I talk about Afro-Latinidad from the perspective of geographical context, but I'm in the book, I'm divesting from this Latinidad. I'm divesting from this energy of having to explain to people why you deserve to get funding, why you deserve to sing your own songs, dance your own music, act out your own identities. Like, no, I'm done with that. So that Plantains and Our Becoming is going to be, and I'm excited for what the conversation is going to be, because it's going to be very so allowing folks to see past the prison that is Latinidad.
Mm-hmm.
We're not meant to be grouped because we're not from the same diaspora. We're not. The Black diaspora includes people from the Caribbean. It includes people from South America, the Americas, North America, Canada, every country in the world, because Black people be everywhere. That's a diaspora. I don't look nothing like all these people who are like, we are somos familia, somos Latinidad, somos this. We're not all the same. And so the minute we divest from that, then we're able to pour into the Black diaspora as Black folks, people who are visibly Black, people who live Black identities, Black lives, Black 24/7. And so the problem with Afro-Latina, and this is why I wrote the poem, and then I was like, let me get to the other shit I want to say, because people took it and was just like, yeah, Afro-Latina. And then they would be like, oh, but she's not. Then you would have people who are like on a cover talking about, taking up space, although they were not visibly Black and they weren't considered Afro-Latinas, all of a sudden wanting to take up space in a conversation because they have one descendant from somewhere in their family, because they took a genealogy test and it says that they 5% Black. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, then I'm Afro-Latina.
Yeah.
But she was checking off white at every other occasion. But you saw Afro-Latinidad all of a sudden was a thing, and it's just like, that's why I was like, let me let people know what Afro-Latinidad actually means.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, it literally just means Black from Latin America.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I say the Black comes before Latina. because ain't nobody in this room talking about, oh, you're Latina. No, that's the point of the poem. The poem is for people to understand, like, I don't belong in your category. Don't put me in your category, because all you do is use me. All you do is take my music. All you do is take my beats, take my swag, take my aesthetics, copy off my nails, copy off my attitude. Everything you do, you see all of these reggaetoneras who they all white, and what they doing? Cosplaying as Black women.
Yeah.
So that's why I make it very clear, like, Plantains and Our Becoming is a bomb for Black folks. Yes, everyone can read it, but I wrote it for Black folks of the diaspora, for them to have something to be like, yes, this is a geographical, it's contextualized and rooted in the island, but it goes way, it's way bigger than that. It's way bigger, because this, I don't even know where I'm really from. I don't even know.
Yeah. I think there's so much to unpack with what you're saying. It's yeah, it's a very kind of convoluted thing, it being Black, being just being Black. It's a very convoluted thing, because it's a lot of different things playing at once, with colonialism, with colorism, with the different parts of the diaspora you're from. You're from continental Africa versus Caribbean versus South America versus, I mean, everywhere, right? It's a very, it's very difficult to even really, a part of me even, like, as you're even, because I like what you said. You had mentioned, Plantains and Our Becoming isn't even, it's you saying, I reject that. You know what I mean? I reject, per se,
all the shit you put on me, all the
exactly,
all the boxes you want to put me in. No, I'm a plátano. Like, plantains grow anywhere. That's really what I want people to understand. A plátano will grow anywhere.
Absolutely.
Any moist soil will grow a plátano.
Yeah.
They grow in Asia. They grow in Africa. They grow in South America. They grow in Florida. They could grow anywhere. Anywhere where they have the right soil, they will grow.
I like that.
And that's the message. That's the message.
I like that.
And I think, I use that metaphor for people to really understand, like, we grow anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere we got ways to survive, we make it do what it do, and it's just like, like, there's a line in the book where I'm like, it's called The Gospel of Plantains, and I'm like, plantains, like most sacred things, they don't know borders. They know earth, like they know survival. They know how to split themselves in 10, how to ransack, pillage, morph into something a white devil can't kill.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely.
Like,
yeah, my ass a banana. There we go. I like that a lot.
Like, they'd be like, what you mix with? Plátanos, baby. Plátanos. That's all. Like, what?
I like that a lot.
Kidding me?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm curious for you. So great, so many gems you're dropping. I'm curious for you, what we talked about your Afro-Latina identity. Obviously that plays a part, your writing, but it also plays a part in you trying to escape these terms as well. For you, what truly, for you, like, when you really look at Melania the writer, what really brought you inspiration throughout your very successful career? What truly has, like, brought you true inspiration to really vent, to really make this poetry?
I think it's just knowing that it's making a difference. It's honestly, like, I see, like, the visceral difference it makes. Like, when I when I was touring and I was doing these shows, like, that's what kept me going and kept me wanting to tour. Yes, I was paying my bills, but also, like, I could be doing any job.
Yeah.
Anybody with a work ethic can keep a job. That's no biggie. It's about, like, finding that purpose and seeing that purpose and then pouring into it, and then seeing, like I would go to shows and, like, young girls would, like, they would want to, like, hug me and cry. Like, wow. And that to me made me feel like, you know what, like, they have to see. Then you become, it's bigger than you. Then it's bigger than you. Then you become something. Your art and you sharing your art and you expressing yourself in a way that makes people feel seen, it becomes bigger than you. Then you all of a sudden think about like, okay, this is like a legacy. Like, what is your legacy going to be? What is your message? And
Absolutely.
for me, it was like, I also think about the little girl in me who would have wanted to see someone like me, like really out here being bold with her words in this way. Like, I really, I really was like, I really want to break all the ceilings that I thought, or not that I thought, because I've always known like you could be great. Like you could be great. I've always like, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing in my life, was like nothing stopping me. But I came from humble beginnings. I grew up in the projects in New York City, like I went to public schools that like, gang fights were going on, like things were sketchy shit was happening, and it was just like, don't walk through that alley because a little girl got raped, or don't walk, as soon as the sun comes out, make sure you're in the house. Like my mom would let us go to the park and she would be like, as soon as 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whenever it would like, because New York sun to be just be disappearing on you. She'd be like, you better be home. You better be home real quick, like that kind of thing. And so, safety was a thing, was like, at times you would feel so safe in your neighborhood and at times you would be afraid of your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of drugs, a lot of, drug dealing, a lot of addicts, a lot of robbing. I remember like, I remember there was a time where like, there was this lady who lived on the 9th floor. I lived on the 10th floor of my apartment. And sometimes like the lady on the 9th floor, she would wait downstairs for like someone she recognized to like take the elevator with her because she got robbed at gunpoint in her own building. So it's like things like that that kind of stay with you, that remind you like, I'm safe and I'm also very unsafe. And I know a lot of the scarcity in my neighborhood had a lot to do with the history in my neighborhood, right? Because people don't steal from their own people unless you absolutely like you at a dead end and you ain't got options. And then I think about how much colonialism and the aftermath of slavery, right? The aftermath of what we were left with left our communities to really fend for themselves. And, a lot of beauty came out of it, but a lot of scary stuff came out of it. And I was born in the Bronx. And when my parents separated, my mom was able to get an affordable housing apartment in the projects in Lower East Side. But we would still go visit the Bronx. And even that was a thing, like like my aunt's neighborhood, like she was constantly like, there was constantly robbings, killings, shootings, like, and I think about like the fact that like, like my mom's biggest fear was like that one of her daughters would get raped or like one of her sons would get shot. That was like her biggest fears. So she was always like on edge. She was always like, oh my God, I need to make sure my kids don't slip into that prison, that school to prison pipeline, right? And then also that they don't get lost in the streets and get shot up or start drug dealing or things like that, because those were your options. Like that's literally what was happening. Like my brother had friends who were drug dealing at a very young age because that's how they were eating. That's how they were going to eat. They didn't know anything else, and so it's just like, there's this abundance in the world, and there's like I always knew there was abundance. Like I always had this image of abundance, but I didn't know how I was going to make it happen.
Facts,
and I'm grateful that I've had so many guides. And eventually my mom ended up buying she got a mortgage in Texas, and she was like, we got to leave New York. She was like, if at least for a few years, your last high school years, you got to see something else. And moving to Texas did give me a different perspective on like, thinking about college, thinking about like, what do I want to pursue? What do I want to make a career? And that ended up going to college and I ended up dropping out. It didn't work for me. And I was a straight A student. My mom was like, how are you dropping out? Because then she was looking at my brother like, he not even gonna make it through college then. He not even gonna go because like you're the straight A student and you're dropping out of college. And I dropped out though because I didn't have a savings. I didn't have a trust fund. And I was taking out these crazy loans for a year. And I was like, I got 3 more years to go. And I'm already $20,000 in student loan debt.
Yeah, wow. Absolutely wild.
I was like, so by the time I graduate, it's gonna be 100,000, and that doesn't even include the interest. I was like, this is a scam. I gotta go. And I was depressed, and I was like, this is not fun for me. And so I mean, and I think it's in hindsight the best decision I ever made because it was poetry or poetry for me.
Okay.
I had no safety net because I didn't have a trust fund. I didn't have mommy and daddy's money, you know? And then I also didn't have a college degree to fall back on. So it was like tunnel vision. It was like, you know what? You're going to figure it out, but you're going to grind. You're going to have to get through it. You're going to have to make it work. And I got creative. I got very creative. And I was like, you know what? Okay. What do poets do? What do writers do? What's a full-time writer doing? Writing every day? I could do that. So between like hustles, I had temp jobs. I drove Uber and Lyft at one point. I had a bunch of different temp jobs I was doing. And I was just out here like, these poems though, this is my bread and butter. And I was writing these poems in between them jobs. I was writing them poems. And it once I was like, you know what, this is a thing. I was like, okay, I'm going to pursue it. And I kept pursuing. I was persistent and I was shameless. I was just like, listen, put me in your shows, put me in your shows. You know, you're going to like what you hear. You know, you're going to like what you hear. And then from shows, from poetry shows, smaller venues, it became college shows with 200 students in the audience. And I would leave selling out all my merch, you know.
Wow, yeah.
And then it turned into conferences.
Yeah.
Where conferences, you know, and I mean, I still do these gigs, but at the beginning, it was like really hard to get a conference. Like you had to really be out here. Like people had to like find you on social media. Like you had to have gone viral for them to see you, like that outreach, you know. And then it turned into, I got a McDonald's commercial. And that for me gave me the financial stability because, you know, them checks be coming in. So once you do a commercial, listen, if little me, because I was a little Miss Little Vanilla Milkshake girl, because literally on 149th Street in Grand Concourse in the Bronx is a big ass McDonald's. And my dad would take us there every time he had us, you know, he had shared custody. So he would take us every weekend to McDonald's and the Jungle Gyms. And he would just, because it was affordable and it was fun. We loved going. We would like take us there every weekend. We gonna be there. And we would have so much fun. And I was like, Miss Vanilla Milkshake over here in the Jungle Gyms with my shoes off, drinking my milkshake. And I was like, if I would have never in a million years think I would get hired to write a poem for two poems, because it was one in English, one in Spanish. Two poems for McDonald's, and that they would be on TV, on YouTube, on the radio, across the country. Baby, people would like send me like screenshots like, you on the TV right now, your commercial. And I would be like, that's crazy. That's crazy. Like I would have never imagined. And this is the thing, is like, that's what poetry opened up for me, a whole new like realm, you know. And so from there, it's been, you know,
it's been pretty amazing, pretty sordid story. I mean, like looking at like you said, you know, now it's like from where your beginnings to, I love how you said it's poetry or poetry for me. You weren't like, you know what, plan B this. No, it's straight up poetry or poetry. It's either I swim or I swim. And I think that type of like grit to your, you know, to your passion is so admirable. It's so inspirational. What do you say to that kid out there that maybe wants to pursue poetry? You know, that's kind of what we like to do with this podcast, with this show. What do you say to that kid out there that's, yo, I want to pursue poetry. I really want to do it. You know, I don't see that many people maybe that look like me, whether I'm Black, you know, Hispanic, all those things. What do you say to that kid out there that's like, yo, I really want to start this. I really want to make a career out of this. What do you say to that young poet out there?
Absolutely do it. Like there is nothing, you know, the thing is that for us, right? You know, for us, the global majority, you know, us, you know, people who like to be like POC, the global majority,
Yeah.
Because we are the global majority.
Yeah.
We are the global majority. Why can't we not win? We are the global majority. People are going to see us and be represented. They're going to feel seen. They're going to feel celebrated. They're going to want more of you. I think we have this idea when we're in these spaces where like, it's just like only white folks in the room. And you're like, so I'm not even supposed to be here, but the global majority looks like me. They need to see me. I need to be seen. I think it's crazy to me that like, you know what I was watching with my 5-year-old? It's my bonus son. So I was watching the Spanish version, the Spanish translated version of what is that kid's name? That superhero kid on Netflix, the black boy. And at first it was an indie. It was an indie film, and then it got turned into a series with Michael B. Jordan and Raising Dion, right?
Yeah, Raising Dion, yeah.
Raising Dion, right. Yeah. So I was watching, I was like, wasn't the woman who wrote this, wasn't the first script, the original script, of darker skinned black woman? And then they put this light-skinned woman, and okay, she's beautiful and all, she is a black woman, I'll give her that. But they put her in there, and I was like, but Dion is chocolate. Yeah. That don't look like, okay, that could be his mama, but what his mama really looked like? Yeah. And I was like, looking at it, I was like, why can't they have a dark-skinned mama on this show? What was the problem? And I think about how impactful that would have been on this show and being on Netflix. And then the fact that it's seen here on the island, and how seldom you see a dark-skinned black mama on a TV show here. So when you see it on Netflix, it's like, wow. And then I think about like, you know, my son is watching this and he loves the character Dion because he wants to be a superhero. Like he loves everything superhero. So this kid is a superhero and he's like, this is so cool. And the fact that he sees this little chocolate kid, a superhero, and I'm just like, how beautiful it would have been for him to also see that representation of the mom. Absolutely. The darker skinned woman. A whole family, yeah. A whole family, absolutely. Right? And to me, it's just like, this is the problem. Is that we are the global majority, and yet still things like this are happening, you know, and we have to really move past there having to always be a compromise in the arts. There's always a compromise in creativity because we are living in an anti-Black world, in a colorist world, you know, in a misogynist world. And so that's what I'm fighting for. A future where that doesn't even, you know, like I did the, you know, the Instagram thing, Somos Limitless, and I was like out here rapping. I was like, hey, here we got flow, here, let's put it out. So when I got the job, I was like, cool, where's the melanin? Like that was my question to them. And they were like, oh, this was last minute. We tried to get, you know, they had a million excuses why. And I was like, okay, well, this is unacceptable though. I hope you know that. We have to, like, this is so tired. This happens all the time. Like, thank you for hiring me, but also one of these other folks should have been darker skinned. Like, there's just no, I don't understand. Like, we are the global majority. So when people say we can't find them, I'd be like, I could find them. So let me get that access to find them for you. Because I can refer you to 10 different dark skinned Black women that you should hire real quick. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things. I feel like it's definitely we gotta fight on behalf of each other too. You know what I mean? Like you said, you know, at least 10. I know like at least 50. I mean, really, it's not. I mean, I'm like at the top of my head. I'm like, I know. Yeah. I know where we be at. So if you don't know where they be at, I could find them for you. But don't give me that excuse that you can't find them. They not there. Yeah. You know, I think that's such a beautiful thing, though, that you're striving for that with your work and inspiring, you know, so many young people, you know, that want to do that same type of work. So that's what's up. Man, this has been so great. Oh my goodness, she's dropping so many gems here, and it's just amazing to hear. So we talked a little bit about, you know, the viral poem that you had, Afro Latina, kind of the what that's looked like for you, and now kind of coming now to centering it back to the present for you. You know, obviously you talked a little bit already about Plantains and Our Becoming. That's your debut poetry collection. You know, I mean, I had my own little debut, but this this is going, I had Mela, my little chapbook that I had out here, but this is like, they got funding, right? So, the way press works and stuff works when you have a publisher backing you is different. It's a whole different level. This is how you get on New York Times, you get on this, you get on that. It's different. And the bookstores, all of a sudden, all the bookstores want to have your book because it's like backed by a bigger publisher. That's the thing though. And I'm not, the indie hustle is I did that. I did it. I used to have my little luggage bag, and I would like get on trains and buses and, commute with my books and do my own events. But it's exhausting for an artist to be their own publisher, to be their own manager, to be their own marketing, their own press, their own secretary,
your own PR person, your own everything. Absolutely. Yeah.
I did that, and I don't want them kind of troubles from me no more. That was exhausting. I was at my wit's end, hustling, trying to get my word out there. So when you have a team and I call it a machine because it is a machine. These big publishers, they do what they do because they got the money to do it, and they're going to give you an advance, and they're going to want that money back. They're going to want to make a profit off of you. And so there's nothing wrong with that though. I will tell people are like, oh, that doesn't mean you have to you feel like you sell out or nothing. No, that means you got the funding you needed to survive and make good art. Because when you read Plantains Are Becoming, you're going to read something, you're going to be like, that's why that bitch got that money. Okay. That's why she got that money, because she put her foot in that book. Because I've been writing poems and I'm just like, I'd be surprised. I'd be like, damn, that came out of me. But it all comes with having the rest to do it. Because your bag is secured. Yeah. Right.
It's a different.
It all comes with being able to release the burden of like, oh my God, I got to work and write. I got to do it. No, I'm just focused on the writing right now. And the writing is the work. I'm focused on reading. I'm focused on being creative. I'm focused on editing. I'm focused on making something that is going to shake the room,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, shake the table, tilt the room. Absolutely.
And so getting a book deal, and, and I want to be more transparent with folks who are interested in going into publishing, things like that. It's very difficult. It's very hard, and it's very stressful and stuff. But once you have an agent that you feel is going to fight for you, and you feel is going to put you in the position to win, and you feel confident that your work is in the right hands, and then you go into that, and you really, you show off who you are and what you want to write about in your work and stuff. And you find, you have editors who are like, we want this book, my book went into a bid, and 5 publishers were interested. And I didn't go with my highest bidder. Actually, I went with my heart, and I was like, Tiny Reps. Okay. I was like, Tiny Reparations. I was like, the team there is fabulous. And I know that my book is in good hands. And I know that they read it, and they were like, we want to keep it just as Black as it is, just as bold as it is, and just as loud, and green as it is. We want to keep it like fresh. We want to keep it, something that's really gonna, like I said, it's gonna shake the room. It's gonna shake the table. It's gonna, it's gonna create a conversation that is needed. Yeah. If not now, then when,
Absolutely. No, I think that's really amazing to hear that you had a bid, you had a bid war for your
yeah, it went to auction.
Jeez, man, it went to auction. Yeah. And you didn't even choose the highest quote unquote payment. For you, it was about that heart more than anything. Yeah.
I mean, but the payment was competitive, both of them. So I was like, I could take an L on a couple G's for, somebody that I know is gonna represent me one. It's gonna put me in a position for my career to really shine, and sometimes it's good to be a little fish in a little pond versus a little fish in a big pond, because you wanna make sure that you're taken care of. You got the right space to slowly grow. You want to grow slowly. You don't want to just be like, oh, out here and you're not even shining. You're not even, no one's putting attention to you because it's all these other ones They had to grow on their pace. I want to grow at my pace. I want to grow slow and steady because I've been growing slow and steady. It seems like it's big, but it's not. It's not big and fast. It's actually been very slow and steady because it's been years in the making.
For sure.
I mean, I've been writing poetry since I was 17. I'm 28 and just got a book deal.
Yeah. No.
And if it had taken me being 35, 40 to get a book deal, it's still at my pace,
Exactly.
So it's just like it happens at your time.
Yeah.
But you got to dedicate the work.
Yeah, you got to do the work first and foremost, do the work. No, I like that. I like that. I love that. I love that a lot. Yeah, everyone, please. Yeah. Listen to what Melania just said. That was some gem dropping all over the place. Thank you so much for that. That's I think these are some great things for people to hear. So, this has been just such a great conversation. And we do have to wrap up. Unfortunately, we could talk to you. I mean, I wish we could talk to you like all day. I mean, we got to do an episode 2 or something.
I have to get to some writing though.
And she does got that.
I have a deadline.
Big old book deal. That is true. She got a big old book deal. So, I can't take up too much of her time. But, I want to ask you the age-old question on Poet Speaks podcast. Please tell us, why do you need to get your words out?
Why do I need to get my words out? Because I'm a Scorpio and I can't keep anything in. No, I'll say I need to get my words out because I need to live. And in order to live, I have to express myself. That's what keeps me alive. That's what keeps me, period. And I recommend, I do workshops, I do meditative workshops on poetry. And I always tell folks to write poetry is to express all that you can about how you feel about life. It is life. It is giving life. I feel like when people are like, oh, poetry's hard or I'm not good at poetry, I'm like, everyone can be good at poetry. Because poetry is just literally like your thoughts, making that beautiful. That's Absolutely. It. So I recommend everybody grab a pen, grab your phone, grab a keyboard, whatever, and write it out, because even if you're not trying to turn it into career, it's just therapeutic. Yeah. Writing is a meditation. Writing is a form of meditation. Writing is a ritual. It is just so therapeutic and helpful. And I feel like it keeps me grounded. So even if I wasn't making money off my poetry, I would still be writing.
Facts, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because it's literally, it keeps me. It really does.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful sentiment. Your poetry keeps you. That's such a beautiful way for us to end today. So before we officially wrap up, please tell us 2022, what's that looking like for you, and where can we find all of your stuff? We want to buy your book. We want to hear all about, your new press, everything coming out this year. Where can we go find you? Social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can follow me on social media at Mela Toca Tierra. It literally just translates to Mela touches the earth. My book comes out in 2023. So in the meantime, I do have some poems I'll be dropping, some content. I do my poetic service announcements on Instagram Reels, so check those out. I'm shooting some new poems tomorrow. Nice. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love them. And I'm also doing some really cool stuff. I'm also doing a show at you can RSVP for it. It's a virtual show on Thursday night, tomorrow night. And it's with We All Grow, and it's gonna be some other dope poets as well. So definitely check it out if you wanna see some poetry. It's tomorrow night, I believe. I forget the time, but definitely go to the Instagram and you'll see it. I just posted the flyer last night for it, and it's gonna be really dope. And they're also giving away 23 copies of my chapbook of Plantains, not the book. The book comes out in 2023, but the chapbook version that still has lots of great poems, and they're translated into the book is broken up into 3 parts: English, Spanish, and Creole. So definitely check this out. Wow. And you can get a free copy if you're one of the first 20 people who log into the event tomorrow night. So if you want a free copy, now's your chance. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. Well, everyone,
thank you.
All of Melania's links will be down in the YouTube section of this podcast video. Remember, the YouTube section, all of her links to all her beautiful work will be down in the YouTube section. Melania, oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Absolutely. All right, everyone. Please go check out Melania's work and please go like, share, subscribe. We are the #1 spoken word podcast in the world. Please check us out. Share with your friends, share with your sister's friends, share with your mom's friends, share with everybody. All right. This is the Poet Speaks podcast, and we will talk to you soon. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks.